Here we go. Ron DeSanctimonious on PBD's podcast. This should be good, folks.
Campaign video that most people haven't seen. This is from 5 years ago. Not this one. Go to the other one, the YouTube one right there. I want to play this clip, and I got a question for you at the end. Go for it.
Everyone knows my husband, Ron DeSantis, is endorsed by President Trump.
Melania's
He's also
hotter.
an amazing dad. Ron loves playing with the kids.
Build the wall.
He reads stories.
Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired." I love that part.
He's teaching Madison to talk.
Make America great again.
People say Ron's all Trump, but he is so much more.
Big league. So good.
I just thought you should know.
Ron DeSantis for governor.
So what happened? What happened between the two of you guys?
He decided to run against me. He's disloyal. Fuck him.
Well, nothing. Well, first of all, that just understand, like that's obviously a tongue-in-cheek. We were having fun.
Of course, it's actually a funny video.
But here's the thing about it: when you're doing these campaigns, you want to get as much free media as possible. So I knew that would cause the corporate media to light their hair on fire, and they did. And so they just kept playing it for me. So we didn't even have to really pay for the ad and everything, and we're just doing out. And so part of it is that ad gets out. What do the average voters see? They say, "Hey, this is a guy with this beautiful wife, young kids, everything like that." And that kind of helped us there. But I did more for him in his 2020 reelection than any other elected official. I raised him more money than any elected official. I got people in Florida to support him that were not happy with him because he didn't fire Fauci. He didn't do anything to stop the BLM riots in the summer of 2020, which we didn't tolerate in Florida. But you had cities burning down all across this country, and there was nothing done. So there was a lot of people that I got on his team, and I worked really hard, and we, really delivered the victory because in October of 2020, I mean, his campaign was putting out stuff, if he loses Florida, it's all because of the governor. Okay, well, I brought in more Republicans here. So I was happy to do that. But the reality is, okay, what about going forward? What's the vehicle to make the country great again? And we need somebody who's going to be able to galvanize support and then attract the needed personnel to be able to deal with the administrative state. And then you need to actually be able to deliver results. I mean, one of the things on there that it's talking about is the wall. Remember, build the wall and have Mexico pay for it. What he now says on the campaign trail, I mean, honestly, honks me off because he says that if you believed what he said then, that you're somehow a loser. That's what he said the other day. And then before he says, all these people saying that I'm gonna have Mexico pay, there's no legal mechanism in Mexico. Then you look at
Mexico will pay. AMLO's my bitch.
What he said in 2016. He was saying he was going to have Mexico pay. But here's the thing about execution. There actually is a way to have Mexico pay. The way you have Mexico pay is you impose fees on remittances that people send back to Mexico who work here, Central America, anywhere in the world. You'd raise billions of dollars and you would actually be able to construct the wall. So, look, I'll tell you, I was disappointed as he's leaving office. Did he use that time to fire Fauci or to do any of that? No, he actually gave Fauci an award, a presidential commendation on January 19th, 2021. And
I did that just to troll you, Ron.
That was personal for me because Fauci, everything we did in Florida, Fauci attacked us on.
Andres, can we lower governor's audio down like a notch? It just all of a sudden spiked. Please continue. Go for it.
So Fauci, he would do interviews with local TV affiliates in Florida bashing us. Oh, they're reckless. They shouldn't do that. He attacked us because I forced the schools to be open. I mean, I didn't really have the normal authority. I was using emergency powers and leveraging those with the funding to be able to do it. And that saved the bacon for a lot of kids. And it was obvious after a few months that this Fauci was totally off his rocker, but he was doing real damage because anytime he'd go to the podium, his pronouncements were treated like the Pope speaking ex cathedra to Catholics. And it was very
Black Swan, though, was a very tough season where even Obama, Biden, none of these guys had prepared for a pandemic. The only one that knew a pandemic was coming was a guy named Bill Gates. Everybody else is like,
yeah, but here's the thing. You don't know. That's true. And I think there was a lot of uncertainty in March of 2020. The question is, what about November of 2020, December, January of 2020?
What should he have done?
He should have fired Fauci.
Ron is so dumb. Fauci was my scapegoat. I couldn't fire him. Who would everyone blame when shit went wrong?
He should have held these people accountable for being wrong, for lying to the public on all these different issues. The corrupt medical swamp in D.C. was a total disaster. I'll tell you what they also shouldn't have done. January of 2021, last few weeks in office, they're sending me missives from the White House task force saying, impose a mask mandate, close restaurants. Dude, and I'm just thinking to myself, and the media here would use it as fodder. They would say, DeSantis is not following the Trump White House task force. And I wasn't. That's true.
You disloyal weasel.
But the media use that as a wedge. So I think that the whole Fauci, and here's I think the issue for the election going forward is I'm the only one running that is talking about bringing accountability for what happened to this country during COVID. It's one thing to make a judgment call that's wrong, but it's another thing to ignore evidence. It's another thing to lie. When you tell people like CDC did that if you take an mRNA shot, you will not get COVID, and you still stand by that when it's obvious that people are getting it, when you're having the FDA approve an mRNA shot for 6-month-old babies where there's no evidence that that's benefiting them, this is a swamp. This needs to be cleared out. I will do that. Here's a concern, I think, with the Trump nomination is RFK Jr. running as an independent. He would be the vessel for, and there's a lot of anti-Fauci, anti-lockdown voters who are upset about it.
Sure.
RFK would be the vessel in that scenario, whereas me as the candidate, I'm the vessel for that. Everyone knows I'm gonna hold people accountable. In fact, I'm gonna be in New Hampshire this week with Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo, Dr. Ladapo. He's one of the few, and he's really the only person in a position of power that's actually.
And he got criticized a lot as well.
Well, that's what I told him when I hired him. I said, listen, what you're doing, you're going to be the only one in position of power to actually take these, because that was one of the things early on with me when I was making these decisions. It wasn't just that it was unpopular. I could not get a doctor to stand with me and say I was right. And a lot of them would say it privately, but they were scared
all
to
their
say
interviews
it publicly.
would get taken down on YouTube. All the doctors,
So, but Joe, I think, is an example of what you need to be able to deal with this medical.
So, okay, so let's go. Okay, fair enough, because even Republicans will say, why is the president keep bragging about the fact that the warp speed, the vaccine saved 100 million people's lives? I don't even want to some
That's
people.
false. That's totally false.
But the point when he's saying that, right? But let's set that part aside. When I show the clip of that video. And the left sits there and says, look at these guys. They can't even figure out who they want to be the Speaker of the House. They can't even figure out how to do this. Look at this McCarthy, and look at this Mike Johnson. Look what they're going to kick him out as well. And if it shows a not a unified party. But I want to go back with Trump. Would you have won your first term when he won by 34,000? I read your book the moment he came. The day your book came out, I read. I'm probably one of the first people that read your book. Would you have won governorship first time? If he doesn't endorse you and put those tweets about you, would you have won by 34,000?
He would have lost big. He's a loser, a big loser. And if it wasn't for me, he would have never been governor.
Well, here's what I mean. The test of that is I won by 34,000 with his endorsement.
Okay.
4 years later, he attacked me 3 days before the election, and I won by 1.5 million votes. So he was at a rally in Pennsylvania. He started launching attacks against me. So not only did he not support me in my reelection,
but the
he
first
was
time,
hostile.
would you have won the first time?
Look, yes, I would have.
You think you would have won the first time?
I would have won because here's
How so delusional. PBD knows he would have lost big without my help.
the thing. If you look at the voters who opposed me the first time versus the voters who then supported me the next time, the number one reason they flipped from against to for in 4 years was Trump. Trump was a factor in 2018. It didn't matter what I did. They were going to vote against me. That was the reason. They viewed me as that.
Fair.
And it was a blue wave across the country. I mean, remember, Republicans got wiped out across the country. I mean, we got wiped out in the House. We lost a bunch of
There was no
governorships.
red wave is what you're talking about.
There was a blue wave.
There was a blue wave,
It was
yes.
a snapback against Trump. And that's natural for a first year in the midterm. But here's the thing. You get into office, and the question is, what do you do with it? And I've done more with it than anybody who's been in a similar situation. The policy success we've had, the leadership in crisis, and then moving the political pendulum in a direction that we've done is just you cannot argue.
I don't know if I
those
disagree with.
results.
I don't know if I disagree with that. The only thing I think about is a guy helped you. There's a difference between being a mayor. Like I'm sure when you see a mayor, like, dude, you're a mayor, right? There's a difference between being a mayor or Congress or Senate or governor of Florida, California, New York, Texas. These are big states. You're running a country. You're not running a state if you look at the data.
13th largest economy in the world.
That's right.
We were
But the point is, that part, what do you say to the audience when they look at you and say, okay, so Governor, I love your policies. I'm very happy. I'd love, for you to be a president. I think you have a lot of great qualities of being a president. You're a family guy, you're this, you're that. But what do you say to the faction that says, but the guy gave you an opportunity to be a governor. How about show loyalty to that guy? What do you say to those people?
How's it showing loyalty when he attacks me 3 days before my reelection? I had never done anything to him.
You were disloyal. You deserve the attacks.
Even all the Fauci stuff, I always kept that private.
That 3 days before, how much prior to that did you and him communicate? Were you guys regularly communicating or not really?
I don't really remember, but I mean, at that point, that was kind of a line in the sand. Like, okay, all right, that's what and I have no problem. Like, politics, it is what it is. But like, we were trying to engineer a red wave around this country, and to not saddle up and be a team player in that situation to do it, that was wrong. Honestly, I mean, we set a record here for what we did, so it either didn't affect or was even helpful in hindsight. But that's just the reality. So you can go and do that to other candidates, and somehow that's not supposed to change anything. The reality is he did that because he cared more about himself than he did about the greater good. The greater good was clearly,
I'm done with this asshole. See you in the White House, loser.